It's time to uplift your heart through the 4 pathways to fulfillment with your host, Sahara Exodus. Each week, Sahara will explore fascinating topics such as signs, blessings, and miracles, prophecies, and shamanism, as well as understanding the relationship with self and others, and guidance for healers, artists, activists, and innovators. Welcome to an inspiring, timeless moment that will leave your heart fuller and your spirit expanded. And now, here's Sahara Exodus.
Namaste, and welcome to Uplift Your Heart, the 4 pathways to fulfillment. My name is Sahara Exodus, and I'm a shamanic priestess, an intuitive counselor, a healer, an artist, an innovator, and a cosmic truth seeker. Welcome to wholistic.com podcast, Oneness Talk Radio Facebook and YouTube pages. I'm so happy and delighted to be here, and I'm so grateful that you're here with me. This is my introductory show on what to expect with this whole series. Next week will be my first episode, so I'm so excited that you're here with me so you can get an idea what this show is all about. I plan to do this on a weekly basis on Thursdays. It'll air on 11 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time and 2 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time. So welcome. What this overall show is all about is support for the shift of the ages, the Great Awakening, the Big Shift. This is a very incredible time to be alive. It's also a time that the Divine Feminine has been underground for a couple of ages. That's 4,000 years. And now she's returning to our middle world, this place that we call home. And she's now moving more and more into our lives on a personal level and with our global culture. And with the Divine Feminine within us, we are learning to develop the holy union between the Divine Masculine and the Divine Feminine. And together we birth the Divine Child as an expression of these two. My new show will be 4 main parts circulating each week. The video will establish the basics of all of these aspects that we're exploring right now. And I'll even have a 5th show, which I call the Mystery Show. It will most likely be a special guest that will embody most of or all of these 4 themes that I'll be sharing with you today. And once in a while, I might even do a show that's totally different, just to change things up a little bit, to keep things fresh. So Uplift Your Heart has 4 main parts. The first part is called Signs, Blessings, and Miracles, Sacred Guided Messages. That's more of a spiritual vibe. The second one is called Understanding the Relationship with Ourself and Others with Caring, Love, and Intimacy. And that's more emotional, or exploring the emotional realm from a mental perspective. And the third one is called Guidance from Leaders for Healers, Artists, Activists, and Innovators. This is more of a focus on our life purpose. And the fourth one is called Prophecies, Stories, and Shamanism with Spiritual Activities. And this will be more about mental concepts. So we have the spiritual, the emotional, the physical, or life purpose or action in the world. And the fourth one is more mental. So I wanted to acknowledge the 4 pathways that make up a human being. Generally, this show will focus on one's purpose, offering hope and faith through these challenging times that we're in. But the main part of who we are is truly love and light, and being in a state of peace and grace whenever possible. So getting into sort of a basic introduction to my history or my herstory, skills and education. Why would you trust me on any of these topics? Well, just to give you a little bit of a background, a wee bit, to start off. I'm a certified counselor. I'm a 3rd generation intuitive. I wrote a book and a workbook called Reclaim Your Feminine Power, Prosperity Through Transformation. And this is what it looks like. Reclaim your feminine power. Yes. And this book, Reclaim Your Feminine Power, I gave talks to various women's centers throughout British Columbia, Canada, based on my book, and I helped business women, single mothers, ex-cons, and even ex-prostitutes. Later on, I created a 6-week program called Love and Money for You, the free magic link. And it was based on an innovative chart that I created called the 3 stages of life. I love the number 3. It's one of my favorite numbers as it embodies the Holy Trinity. So the first program, Reclaim Your Feminine Power, was mostly for women, although it's totally for men too. It's all about the relationship with our inner world. And then I had men asking me, it would be really nice to have a program that they could be involved with. So that the 3 stages of life was a part of that. It was basically a personal growth course for both men and women. A big theme in my life is the divine feminine. I just have a very special relationship with our dear Holy Mother, our Sacred Mother, Divine Mother, the Goddess, Gaia, Pachamama, Sophia. She has many names. But I see her more as the invisible realm. She's energy, life force energy. She's like a Holy Spirit. She's beautiful inside and out. She's filled with love, intimacy, connection, creativity, passion, sensuality, nature. We see her manifested as nature, but it's not just the plants and the animals and the insects, but it's the life itself. She is life. She is life. And when we are animated through these beings, we experience her life within us. So this is something very sacred and dear to my heart. I just feel that we've been living in a very patriarchal world for apparently 2 ages, so 4,000 years. And it's a time that this divine feminine returns to create a balance within ourself, within the relationship between men and women, or masculine and feminine, and in the relationship with the world between the inner and the outer. The inner has just as much validity as the outer, but we have worshipped the outer, the manifested realm, for our entire lives and for a couple of ages. So it's time to have some balance about the values about the inner world. And even though we have had that on a small level within this past age, there is so much more richness and beauty and energy and meaning. Yes, meaning is also a non-manifested experience, something that is meaningful. And when she speaks to us, she often speaks to us through messages that are meaningful. So I would like to welcome the Divine Feminine to already connect with the established Divine Masculine and encourage that within us for that holy union, which basically represents harmony and respect between these 2 aspects. So with this introduction that I'm sharing before these 4 parts that I'd like to get into, I have shared a fair amount of my life support with wonderful courses that I've created, and books and art and beauty, and a lot of sessions. I've offered many, many sessions for a good 25 years or more. So welcome. So part 1 is called Signs, Blessings, and Miracles. It's all about sacred guided messages. As I mentioned earlier, I just love the 3, so I'm focusing on 3 different types of messages. And you could look at it as a Holy Trinity. And this is really medicine for your heart, your soul, your mind, to understand that you are not alone. You're not alone. And these gifts that the Holy Trinity offers each and every one of us can be as in a range from light to medium to large, or soft, medium, and intense, whatever way you want to look at it. These are metaphors for how often they come in. The light ones or the soft ones, they can come in on a daily basis. They can come in several times a day, or if you're less aware, it may just be more noticeable a few times a week, but it's definitely something regular in your life, signs. And blessings, they may come, well, I mean, some people that are so connected, they could be coming a little bit less frequently as a sign, but quite often. But for the majority of people, it would be probably less often, but certainly regularly in your life, a blessing. And it's all a matter of perspective as well. So you would recognize that, oh, I'm experiencing a blessing. And if you're a very grateful person, you might feel like every meal is a blessing, every glass of water is a blessing, every time you realize you're in a warm shelter with a roof over your head and blankets, that you're blessed. So again, that's a matter of perspective, because there's a lot of people in this world that don't have those things. And so, yes, that is definitely a blessing. And then finally, a miracle. A miracle is something that is more rare. It doesn't necessarily happen every day, but again, it's a matter of perspective. You might feel so deeply within the core of your being that the gift of your very life, your very existence, is a miracle, and that you are a miracle. And every time you look out the window or go outside and you see the magnificent creation all around you, nature, plants, animals, insects, the air, the sky, the sunsets, the sunrises, and all these incredible buildings and things that humans create, is a miracle. It truly is. So it's really how you wrap your brain around it. But I'm going to use those three aspects more as examples of how the divine is speaking to you on a regular basis. So let me break that down into three parts. We could ask the question, what is a spiritual sign? Well, they are all around you. And when you learn to tune into these subtle messages, then you are no longer alone, but you are connected to receiving the guidance sent to you from your higher power or your higher self. You could also see this as a connection with God or your personal creator communicating with you. These signs are all a matter of interpretation of what's happening in the moment. So some have eyes to see and ears to hear. You might also ask yourself the question, well, what is a blessing? Well, spiritual blessings can be received when you have faith. And with this faith, it causes a physical blessing in the natural realm that could be manifested and seen. So that is a little cryptic, but at the same time, it's all a matter of perspective. So often blessings come from faith that can materialize as a physical blessing that's manifested and seen, that you are experiencing the prosperity in life. And finally, what is a miracle? A miracle is an extraordinary event manifesting divine intervention in human affairs. It could be seen such as a near-death experience, surviving a car accident or an illness. You could be going towards the white light or entering heaven, and basically being able to return to speak about it. So that's just sort of a quick synopsis of a miracle. Often they happen from something difficult or challenging, but not necessarily. It just depends on your perspective. Also, these sacred guided messages even happen to atheists. I've personally witnessed this. but it's only meaningful when the person that's experiencing them is actually consciously aware of it. So if someone else is witnessing that, it's meaningful for me because as a witness, I could see that it's all around everyone, including atheists, but we all need to be consciously aware of that. Some people call these coincidences. I don't really think they are. I don't think they're coincidences. I actually feel that these messages is the divine actually speaking to you or speaking to me. The divine is speaking to us through these sacred timings, these divine timings. They're sacred moments, divine timing. I just love that. It's one of my favorite sayings because when I try to connect with certain people, it doesn't always work out, but it always works out when there's a perfect alignment. And to trust and have faith in that and not to feel guilty if the ego has some perception of what it's supposed to look like. So here are some examples of signs, blessings, and miracles from a personal point of view. So I'd like to start off with a miracle, and I'd like to focus really on what this show is all about for me and how it all started. So for quite a number of years, I was in a bit of a funk. I had moved to Ecuador doing private sessions, and things started to dwindle down, particularly in the last year with the pandemic. And I thought, well, geez, what am I going to do with myself? But this funk had been starting long before that, and I knew there was a change coming, but I didn't really know what it would look like. I had tried just about everything, and I just surrendered, and I prayed a lot, and also waiting for divine timing. Interesting enough, Shri and Kira from Oneness Talk Radio, they invited me to be a radio show hostess as they saw me do an interview that I did, and it resonated for them. So I have been doing a number of videos for years on my own YouTube channel and connecting with my audience and doing some art videos with my husband, doing insightful videos, guided messages, information videos. And so, yes, I had done a video that they had witnessed, and it was really quite a miracle for me to have somebody sort of recognize me online, because in the past, most of my work has been pretty much in person, connecting to community in the place, the city, or the home that I'm living in. So I never really understood how to connect online, although I, for a long time, had a floating website resume. But it's not the same as, networking with people through events and making connections one-on-one or through friends or colleagues and those types of things. So it was an incredible miracle. And a miracle is also a feeling, and I felt this empowering energy. It was so beautiful. The next thing I'd like to mention is an example of a blessing. So March 22nd, 2021, this year, I went to a very special equinox gathering. And this actually was at Kira and Shri's beautiful sanctuary, their retreat center. And at this place, I experienced a full circle moment. As in 2013, I had a really major spiritual experience that actually led me to create a 10-part video series for free for shamans and indigenous people for around the world, and for the curious ones. So you're welcome to check that out if you haven't. So season 1 was all about North America. And after this second spiritual experience in 2013, not too long ago, I experienced a very similar spiritual experience, and this happened in South America. And so this was my season 2, which inspired me to launch this whole series. I had been sitting on the fence with it, just really not sure when to send it out, and this definitely was this amazing feeling that I should do it. And this was a beautiful blessing of divine timing. And it reminds me of a prophecy where it says that when the eagle of the north and the condor of the south fly together, the earth will awaken. So I personally experienced this eagle with the indigenous people of the north and the condor with the indigenous people of the south. And in both spiritual experiences, I experienced the eagle and the condor. So it was really beautiful. So moving along now to the sign. Even though all of this happened, I was sitting on the fence, wondering, is it really my destiny to be a radio show host person? It sounded very exciting and interesting, but it's a big commitment, and I didn't really know if this was quite the fit. So my ego could play certain games with me, but I just really wanted a sign. And yes, you can request things. You can request blessings and miracles and signs. And so I requested through prayer, asking my Creator, is this what I'm meant to do? Is this where I'm meant to go? Well, I received 2 pieces of art, and it came from 2 different men. And to me, that symbolizes masculine action, the exterior world, which was a big symbol for me. And you might, when you get signs, you might notice that in your own way, you might interpret them in a different way. There's books and there's lots of information online to interpret dreams, for example, and signs, but also just to see in your heart what's meaningful to you. For example, ladybugs are incredibly meaningful to me, as my dear grandmother that passed visits me as a ladybug. And she never told me this before she passed, that she would come as a ladybug. And I'm sure that if I looked it up online about ladybugs, it wouldn't really mean anything in relationship to this sign that comes into my life. So there are some very personal signs that only you can interpret by the way you feel. So I wanted to show you the first painting, or actually there's just one painting. So I was not sure if I should take on the radio show project, and here we are. The radio show, the headquarters is at Tosa Blue Mountains. And I was sitting beside Gary in an art class, and he painted blue mountains, and I was wondering, why is he painting mountains blue? It just I couldn't understand it. And later on, it had meaning for me that I would even question that. Of course, I've seen people paint all kinds of mountains and nature scenery that are not typical that you would expect. But I was thinking, why? So that was very powerful for me. But that wasn't enough. I was still not totally sure. And then I received a second piece of art from my friend Peter, and he wrote this beautiful word in calligraphy. Let me show you. So this is the word that he wrote and gave me, trust. But I still didn't make the connection. I ended up at the time just thought it was very odd that I would get these 2 pieces of art at the same, like within the same week. And I decided to put them together. And I saw Trust, Tosa Blue Mountains, which is the headquarters for Oneness Talk Radio. And then I realized my prayers were answered. Yay! And it just really hit me. It was just like this core, that's another thing about messages is you could feel very deeply the meaning within your own heart. So my prayers were answered. Yay! So when this happens, we could end up having these pieces. So I just shared with you a miracle, a blessing, and 2 signs. And they were like a puzzle. So it could be like a cryptic message when your ego's playing head games with you. It just seems too complicated. Dear Divine, I just don't understand what you mean. Please make it more and more clear. Have you ever had one of those prayers? Well, that's what I was doing. Like, just make it more clear. And so it's really important to take some time out in your life where you could begin to put those pieces together, and then it forms a puzzle, an image where all the parts form a picture that is clear and obvious. So I hope that helps you to understand this wonderful show on signs, blessings, and miracles. And in the future, I plan to have special guests that will share with you a miracle story or a spiritual story that will hopefully inspire you from hearing it from each individual, as we all have a slightly different perspective on what these signs, blessings, and miracles are all about. So part 2 is called Understanding the Relationship with Self and Others with Caring, Love, and Intimacy. So this theme will be around the idea of emotions. So sometimes we will be feeling together, other times there'll be more of a mental concept. Today will be more of a mental concept with what I'd like to share just as an introduction. I would like to start off with astrological timings as a theme to grasp with, because there's so many emotions, so many feelings, like a rainbow that could be infinite, especially when you experience levels of intensity. So this is something that's dear to me. I'm a shamanic priestess and a shamanic astrologer. I studied astrology for a few years, and that is something I really enjoy, particularly natal chart readings, which help people with their purpose, but also to understand oneself more intimately. So this week is a profound week. It's called the Lion's Gate. It's very, very special time to be alive with this sacred timing between August 8th and August 12th. And if you're listening to this show a little later past that, you could use this as a portal beyond time and space, seeing it as a pivotal point for a new stage of life for yourself and for the world. It's all a matter of perception and belief and faith. So I would like to explore the number 8 numerologically, which is all about power and abundance. And so this is a very powerful time. And August 8th is a double 8. It's also an infinity symbol, a double infinity symbol. So just to kind of wrap your brain around that, it's also the astrological archetype of Leo, the lion. So we're getting into our lion power, which is really incredible. It's also connected to the new moon, which is an alignment activation to be in line to where everything starts to flow. To be in line with your destiny and to manifest with a sense of double intensity. So we might ask ourselves, how does this relate to who we are? And this has everything to do with self-love. And we might ask ourselves, how does this relate to others? Well, when we love ourselves, we end up having a glowing self-esteem. And when you love yourself, you're able to love others that much more. Then you might ask yourself, how does this relate to my own personal life purpose or your own personal life purpose? And Leo is a very powerful symbol for leadership. But it's being a leader with what brings you great joy and passion. But sometimes we don't always feel that way. If we feel the opposite, how do we get back on track? Well, it's very important to have me time, to rest, to have nourishing good foods, to exercise, and to do some journal writing. But if you are feeling numb and you're just not able to feel much, it's really important to provoke some kind of intense emotional awakening by feeling your raw feelings. And if that's not working, then you might need some extra inspiration by watching certain movies or songs, listening to certain songs that invoke deep emotion, like a sad movie or sad music. And this will transform your situation. So to take an active participation in this is key. As an example, we could take a moment to place our hand on our heart and shut our eyes. And here we could share a positive affirmation together. So I will say it once quickly, and then twice slowly, and then again once. I draw strength from my spirit, and I'm filled with the courage needed to move forward. I draw strength. I draw strength from my spirit, and I'm filled with courage, and I'm filled with the courage needed to move forward, needed to move forward. Okay, one more time on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I draw strength from my spirit and filled with the courage needed to move forward. So take a moment and feel that. So just taking a deep breath. You might ask yourself, well, how does the relationship with myself and others connect with the shift of the ages? Well, perhaps your soul chose to be on the cusp of 2 different ages, although your ego might not remember that. Just remember, though, that you were made for these times, so you're strong enough. I believe in you. I have faith in you. You are strong enough. But be careful what you think of and feel at times, because you could affect the collective consciousness. What do you want to manifest right now? Do you want to manifest the age of golden light that represents love? Or do you want to manifest the age of darkness that represents fear? It's either love or fear or light or darkness. Which is it? So a lot of it has to do with what you think and feel. So just be mindful of that. It's an opportunity to learn to become a mastermind. So this Lionsgate portal is between the 8th and the 12th of August 2021. But this is also a new moon. It's the beginning of a brand new story, a new story for you, a fresh start. It could be an intense time. It's a time of regeneration and rejuvenating your energy. Leo is also the star, the one that desires it to be the center of attention. It's about radiant self-esteem and self-love, self-worth, feeling confident, charismatic, and with magnetism. It really represents the inner child, so that place of creative self-expression. This theme overall is having some time and space learning a lot about who you are, who you really are. It's a fixed sign, so it's about building on the dream you've already had with creativity. There's a steady, stable quality and perseverance, a time to go deeper, and a time to fully realize a vision. But there could be conflicts along the way. One part of us just wants to make other people happy, while another part of us just feels like rejecting all these expectations and just doing your own thing and becoming the person that you want to be. So just remember, though, that if you don't make growth, the universe will do it for you. So it's better to participate. So this week is all about spiritual downloads. It's important to make time to download these powerful energies. Leo is also having a relationship with a few initiation planets, such as Aquarius, so that brings added energies of innovation, authenticity, self-expression. It's also aligned with Saturn, which represents discipline and restrictions. Can you feel that with this lockdown? But it's also conflicting with Uranus, which is this wild energies for change. So there's sort of this, one wants to stay the same, one wants to change. So it could be this pressure cooker for raging energy. So this creates a challenge of feeling a sense of dissonance and irritation between our spirit that wants to change and these pre-existence of our life situations and the restrictions we're noticing on the planet. So it's a great time to have patience for people all around you and ultimately for yourself as well. This is a great portal of alignment for manifesting abundance, freedom, health, love, and happiness, having faith in that, and really focusing on what you want. Do you want to manifest doom and gloom, or do you want to amplify and co-create with the universe to manifest beautiful, powerful, positive changes? So what does your heart and your soul crave? Well, I could relate to this, and I bet you can too on some level, that we all need to make time to nourish our hearts and souls and to remember that we're here for a good reason. And just to be grateful for this now moment, this gift of life. Regarding this show on the relationship with ourselves and others, in the future, I plan to have callers phone in, and I will share the astrological timings as just a general theme, but I will offer opportunities for doing mini intuitive readings and also support for these global changing times. And so those topics don't have to relate to the astrological timings, just whatever is natural in the moment. So now I'd like to introduce you to part 3, which I call Guidance from Leaders for Artists, Activists, Healers, and Innovators. And the general theme is about life purpose. So I'm just going to share with you on a personal level my experiences and my relationship to these particular topics. I've had several experiences with all of these topics. That's why they're an interest in my heart. Although I love many other topics, no offense, but this is something I would enjoy sharing, speaking about, and talking with others on a regular basis. So I shared with you in the beginning, in the introduction, a little bit about myself. So let me discuss a few further things that I feel is key and important. A big piece of what makes me who I am is I am a survivor of sexual abuse, and I'm now thriving. I offer counseling for emotional concerns, often to do with relationships with ourselves and others. It took me over a couple of decades to heal this sexual abuse, so I am a wounded healer. I'm also an intuitive card reader, and I spent 25 years or more offering private sessions, doing counseling and intuitive readings, private sessions for individuals, and readings for corporate events. I'm also an energy healer specializing in heart resonance therapy, a body worker, as I do Black Pearl, which releases stress and trauma from the body. As you can see, I love many topics, so I see myself as a shamanic priestess offering loving support for the heart, mind, body, soul, and spirit. I've created 2 innovative programs on personal growth, and I have a lot of artists in my family. I went to art school, and I'm currently building an online art school, which I'm super excited about. I've been an activist for over a couple of decades. My husband and I have had a film and forum group called the Free Thinkers Club. So just with some general tips, I'd like to say when it comes to finding your own purpose, it's most important to follow your heart. And so how do we connect with our heart? Well, there's a couple of suggestions I'd like to make, and I'll show you. I encourage you to get a journal. This is a journal that I have. It's a nice shiny silver journal, and you can see I've written all kinds of things in here. It's upside down. I like to use different colors of pens, and so yes, a journal is really key to connect with your heart. And also collages. As I mentioned earlier, we might have all these pieces of a puzzle, and so you could use a collage with images you can cut out from a magazine or newspaper, or printed off of your printer off the internet, words that you could print off the internet, or as I said, magazines and newspapers, or you could also write out words. This is just a really basic collage that I have here that I did but you can see it's got words and images, and it kind of helps put the pieces of a puzzle together. And if you don't have access to images, you could just buy kind of a poster board paper. It's pretty cheap. And you could just create your own images and then just take some glue and glue it on there. Or you could just draw a collage yourself as an example with all the mysteries happening in your journal. You could take these words and place it into an image and put it on the wall, tape it on the wall, and then you're able to kind of have a better idea of what's happening, what are the messages in your life that are trying to speak to you. So some of us are consciously multidimensional beings. And with that in mind, we have these skills in life that tend to build on one another. So don't be so hard on yourself if you love something, but you don't just like adore it. You might be one of these people that love many different things, and later on in life, it will all come together. So place your hands on your heart and notice the words and the images that pop up, and just think about what your purpose might be that brings you joy. So the words that pop up in my mind is peace, love, and joy. If I have those feelings in me, I know I'm on purpose. Your purpose and your day job could be completely different things. Your purpose doesn't have to have anything to do with money, but it's more about what your soul craves. So how does healers, artists, activists, and innovators have to do with the shift of the ages and leadership? Well, some of you have experienced a spiritual calling for a special message, a special mission, that perhaps is just for you. So a calling speaks to your heart. It's like this craving that's so deep. I've had a few callings in my life. It's another kind of a spiritual message that's pretty powerful. But I wanted to say that being a leader does not mean that you have to be the center of attention or the star. It defines more about being independent, which can translate to being an entrepreneur, but not necessary. It could also be a side project, a hobby, something that you give away, a freebie, or perhaps by donation. So in the future with this particular show, I'd like to have special guest leaders that will share their personal stories and offer some wisdom and tips for you. And finally, I'd like to share with you part 4, Prophecies, Stories, and Shamanism with Spiritual Activities. So just as an example for a prophecy, I'd like to share with you the basics of shamanic astrology, or also Western astrology. I personally studied shamanic astrology, and they're very similar but slightly different. On the great shift of the ages that I had mentioned in the beginning, which really is a death rebirth on a major cycle. So let me break that down for you. There's 3 parts. The first part is that we've just completed a 26,000 year cycle. That's 12 complete ages, each age approximately 2,000 years. So we just finished a huge series, like imagine that. Number 2, we've been living in the age of Pisces, and the age of Pisces, the theme is service to others first and then ourself last. It's also a water sign. And now we've just entered the age of Aquarius, which is an air sign. So water is emotions, air is mental. And Pisces was service to others first and ourself last. And Aquarius is the opposite. It's service to self first and then service to others. So that is totally the opposite. So try to wrap your brain around that. Aquarius theme is technology, the masculine, and enlightenment, the feminine, the outer world and the inner world. And this is a service to self kind of theme. And with that in mind, when we connect to the inner world more, we have a deeper relationship with the divine feminine, which is that inner connection, which is a big theme in my life that I would love to share with you more. So when you think about these 3 parts, this 26,000 year cycle, this past age of Pisces, which is service to others first, and now Aquarius, service to self first. They're all very conflicting and very intense. So this is a challenging time. It's important to make the effort to process and integrate this because it's huge. It really explains everything that we're going through right now. So as an example story, we are currently having this global lockdown pandemic, and it's showing us how to have more self-love and self-care by being isolated in our homes. And for the entire global culture, this really is a death and rebirth. We're never going to go back to the way things were, because on an astrological level, it's showing us that that huge series that we're in, a 26,000 year series, it's over. It's so over. So we're moving into something new. And as I said earlier, we could bring in a golden age of love and light or a dark age of fear. So I'm rooting for the love and light, and so many prophecies are showing us to head into that direction. But each and every one of us make a difference for the divine plan. So this is challenging when we've grown up with our lifestyle, and we've grown accustomed to all this certain culture that we're used to. There is a grieving process that we're doing personally and globally, that we're all in this together. So this grieving phase is very important, and I thought I'd share with you this process from grief back to life. I got this information from recoverfromgrief.com, so you can check that out in greater detail. But just in a brief synopsis, I'd like to share with you these 7 stages. So the first one is shock and denial. It's like, whoa, disbelief. I can't believe this is happening. No, it's just not happening. We're going back to normal for sure. Things are normal. Things are normal. No, they're not normal. So we go through shock, disbelief, and denial. So I see this all around me where people are just acting like it's no big deal, just another day. And no, on a deep level, when you see things are different, it's important that we go through these 7 stages of grief. And you may not go through them in this exact order, but this is sort of a common order that people tend to go through. So the shock, the disbelief, the mourning. Ultimately, we feel the sadness, this need to mourn our old lifestyle, this confusion, like, what's going on? What happened here? I didn't see this coming. Globally? Seriously? This is happening globally, not just at home, but everywhere? And yeah, so there's a sense of discomfort. Number 2 is pain and guilt. We feel this deep guilt. Geez, maybe I could have done something to prevent this. Maybe I could have acted differently. And then there's a sense of pain. The pain could manifest as deep sadness, depression, like, oh, I can't believe this. Oh, this is so sad. And betrayal, like maybe we betrayed ourselves. Maybe the system betrayed us. Maybe something spiritual betrayed us. We can go through all this deep emotion. And number 3 is anger and bargaining. So it's like, I can't believe this. It's so frustrating. It's the anger, the resentment, the stubbornness, frustration gives way to anger. We could end up lashing out at our loved ones, projecting, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. It's my fault, it's my fault. We're trying to blame, put the blame on someone. And I've seen many people do that, and I've certainly have gone through that. I understand this really well. And I mentioned bargaining, bargaining with the powers that be, this in vain, like, oh, geez, I will never drink again if you just bring back what I've lost. Please, 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 out of desperation. You could also say, geez, let me wake up from this nightmare and let it just be a bad dream. I just want to wake up from this, but I promise I'll be good, if I could just have my old lifestyle back. So this is a sense of bargaining that can come from anger and frustration. Do you relate to this at all? I could relate. Okay, and then we move into the fourth level, which is depression. reflection and loneliness. So this is a time where you will purposely isolate yourself and just reflect on all the things that you used to do pre-lockdown. Focus on those memories of the past. And this is quite easy to do when you watch television or YouTube videos, the way things used to be, particularly groups and crowds, could be very sad, a sense of emptiness, loneliness, especially if you're in isolation, and a deeper level of depression because it's like, oh, I don't want to get off this couch, it's just so sad, or I don't want to get out of bed. So this is a really great opportunity as a time to become your own best friend. But luckily, we move into the fifth stage, which is this upward turn, a stage of moving into an upward place. You begin to, as you process what we've just shared, you're feeling more calmer, more organized, a sense of being strengthened by this whole thing. And then you begin to feel a bit more motivated and even awakened, a sense of awakening, like this death and rebirth. As I mentioned, it's like, wow, something new is coming out of it. Like this phoenix is beginning to rise, but as it went slowly down, it will go slowly up. It's when you've reached the rock bottom, it starts to move up. But we also are integrating into the light because that is just as challenging at times as going into the darkness because we're just unfamiliar with this new death and rebirth. So the sixth stage is reconstruction and working through everything we've gone through. In this place, we begin to feel inspired, determined, and refreshed, renewed. It's just a beautiful thing. And then finally moving into the seventh stage, which is acceptance. Like, okay, the old world is not here anymore. The new world is not really here anymore. But I could accept sort of this in-between phase because humanity's all in this together. So we all have to wake up together. And some of you are waking up quicker than others. Some of you have been awake 5, 10, 20 years ago and waiting for everyone else. So it's kind of like we're all gathering bits and bits. And as we personally go through this acceptance, we get through a place of hope, a sense of hope that we can do this. We got this. We're comforted inside. We feel more relaxed and secure. We could let go of control on a physical and spiritual level. And there's a sense of more trust in the divine plan, and you're part of the divine plan. Not really sure where it's going, but you know that it's going to be okay. And no matter what happens, it'll be okay. And why? You are an eternal being. So no matter how long this body lives for, you will continue to live your beautiful life. It may be a completely different form. It could be a spirit being form. It could be in another body. It doesn't matter. The guarantee is you are an eternal being and your life will continue. So there's no need to be controlling, to hold on to the physical and spiritual desires of your ego, but to have more faith and trust in the divine plan and you're part of the divine plan. So there's this grieving process with the death and rebirth, and it gets better to acceptance and hope and moving forward. So with that in mind, that has really helped me to see this more as a grieving phase and not just think that I'm just supposed to snap right out of it. So the conclusion is that we are going through a personal and global death and rebirth, which could seem rather intimidating. So using these tools that I've shared today, I hope will help you on your journey. So it's important to have support at this time from yourself and from others. And that's what this show is all about. I'm here for you on a weekly basis so I could be there for you and support you on your journey. So I'd like to close with a couple of spiritual activities. Another affirmation if you would like to join me. So you could place your hand on your heart and I'll say it once together, twice slowly, and then once again. As I stand here in life, I am open to all the blessings that are on their way to me. I am ready. As I stand here in life As I stand here in life, I am open to all the blessings. I am open to all the blessings that are on their way to me, that are on their way to me. I am ready. I am ready. Okay, so let's explore a simple chant. It's called the humming bee breath. And this improves your mood, your memory, and your happiness, and just feeling overall alive. So the little separation between your teeth and your lips closed, and you could shut your eyes if you like. So you just sound like a hummingbird, a humming bee, pardon me, a humming bee. So taking a moment and feeling the vibrations of your body and breathing. It's so good to make time for spiritual exercises, and we will do longer ones with this segment in the future. So please tune in to my new weekly show, Uplift Your Heart, the 4 Pathways to Fulfillment. Together, life is easier with support. I love you.
Thank you for joining us. Be sure to tune in next week for some more medicine to uplift your heart with another pathway to fulfillment. In the meantime, you can learn more about Sahara Exodus at priestesssahara.com. May your soul know you are perfect right now as your heart expands into light, love, and acceptance of this moment.